Author's purpose and point of view. Our learning goals are to understand and identify the different purposes of texts, to distinguish between nonfiction and fiction, and to understand how the author's point of view affects the text. What is the purpose? Did you know that everything you read has a purpose? When an author writes something, whether it's a book, magazine, textbook, or newspaper article, he or she chooses his or her words for a purpose. What is the purpose? The author's purpose is the main reason that he or she has for writing the selection. The author's purpose will be to entertain, inform, or persuade. What is the author's point of view? When an author writes to entertain, persuade, or inform, he or she will have his or her point of view on the subject. The point of view is an author's opinion about the subject. How does the author's purpose and author's point of view go together? Author's purpose and point of view go together. The author will want you to see the topic from his or her point of view or through his or her eyes. For some issues, you will be able to tell if the author is for or against something. When you are able to recognize the author's purpose, you will have a better understanding of the selection. Also, the purpose will determine how you read a selection. Can a selection have two purposes? Some selections will have two purposes. For example, if the article is about eating healthy, it will try to persuade you to eat your vegetables as well as inform you about the different types of food groups. When the author's purpose is to inform, you will learn something from the selection. Information pieces usually include facts, details or instructions, places, events, and even people. When the author's purpose is to persuade, the author will want you to believe his or her position. Persuasive pieces are usually nonfiction. There are facts, but it also contains the author's opinions. With persuasive pieces, it is clear on the author's point of view, if he or she is for it or against it. Author's purpose entertain. If the author's purpose is to entertain, the author is probably going to tell you a story describing characters, places, and events, real or imaginary. Examples of these type of texts are plays, poems, stories, jokes, and even comic strips. Let's practice. Determine the author's purpose. Use the information on the bottle to determine the author's purpose. Can you identify the author's purpose? The correct answer is A, to inform. The label contained information and instructions on how to use the medicine. You ready for more practice? Can you identify the author's purpose in this paragraph? His face appeared in the window. She knew he had been the cause of her waking at 3 a.m. Was she seeing things? Was his face real? She tried to lie still and decide what to do. Just then, the window shattered. She flew across the room to the hallway and straight into her mother's room. Can you identify the author's purpose? The correct answer was to entertain. The author tried to capture a suspenseful mood in the story. This story is probably fiction. Can you identify the author's purpose? Let's try. Read this paragraph and let's see if you can identify the author's purpose. Let's see if you're right. You can tell the author wrote this passage to, let's see. The correct answer is to C, persuade. This is an emotional appeal to do the right thing. Read. Also, the last sentence encourages you to do something. Turn off the television. What are the steps to determining the author's purpose and point of view? The first is to read the selection carefully, then determine if the selection is fiction or nonfiction. What is fiction? A fiction piece is from the author's imagination and is not based on facts. Fiction pieces will be stories. The purpose of fiction is to entertain the reader. Fiction creates a mood, a feeling you get from reading the selection. The mood could be happy, sad, scary, angry, peaceful, etc. Fiction stories are going to have characters, setting, and a plot that includes the problem and the solution. What is nonfiction? Nonfiction pieces are based on facts and authors' opinions about a subject. Nonfiction pieces could be biographies, articles from textbooks, newspaper and magazine articles. The purpose of nonfiction writing is to inform and sometimes persuade. Now you're going to complete a fiction nonfiction purpose and point of view activity. It's an online activity called Author's Purpose Battleship. You're going to play Author's Purpose Battleship at the website listed below.